Hello, hero looking for group. Hero not welcome in some groups. It's like we all have our personality and what we are passionate about, and sometimes we're passionate about things that offend other people. Specifically, people don't like to change, and so if I have the passion for learning and then learning with other people in a group, the people in positions of power, if they don't share my passion, they will become offended, and then they will kick me out of their group, out of their tribe. And that's the only problem with that is, you know, groups are powerful. Networking is powerful. Cooperation is powerful. Anyways, I had a dream. I dreamed of a train wreck. The train was going over a bridge, and the bridge broke, and the train crashed into the embankment and went flying off the tracks. And I had passed underneath the bridge and looked back, and there was fire out in the forest. And I was telling my family about it this morning, and it's like, if I was a good person, I would go try to help. I would try to help the people who were in the train wreck. And that's what I'm doing. I explained to them that's why I get into the virtual world, which I treat as being sacred. It's because I'm trying to help. Your bridge is a bad bridge. There's a train wreck happening. I don't have to help. I'll be perfectly fine. But, you know, I know I can help. And if I didn't try, I wouldn't feel good about myself on the judgment day. And so my religion is that I try. Hello, bird. I uh, I invited Paul Vanderclay to my Discord server, and he accepted. And I know that he doesn't give a lot of attention to Discord servers in the past, but I'm hoping that changes. I would love to receive, you know, 5 minutes of his attention in my Discord server, per week. That'd be great. Um, I created a Paul channel, so maybe 5 minutes on the Paul channel would be nice. And I'm interested in an Estuary protocol. I saved a copy of it in my Google Drive so that I could make comments, and if it gets deleted, I still have access to it. And these pastors, and John Van Donk comes off as a pastor. These people have a lot of experience in building communities, and it occurs to me that in my video I made yesterday, HeroLFG 55, and it was related to Mark Lefever's video that came out hours later about sense making, is that people don't like to change. This is the topic. And if you don't want to change and you are a bridge, there could be a train wreck. But I am interested in changing. And so I think this estuary protocol is really good. It's got some good things. And I could go over it, but I'll just mention that, I was I read the Estuary protocol to my wife to get her opinion. And what occurred to her is that, you know, it doesn't seem good for a spouse like myself and maybe like you to go off into these virtual spaces or to go off into these meetups and to basically leave your spouse and your family and go meet other people. And what occurred to me is that, yeah, and what my wife suggested is because I had suggested that I could do a virtual estuary, and my wife is like, if you do these intentional, scheduled meetings like this with this protocol, it's good to do those, with your family. And so it got me thinking about some modified estuary protocol. How do I incorporate this wisdom from John Van Donk and Paul van der Klee? And, I told my wife she made good points. And I said that we should do it. My wife and I should regularly practice estuary protocol, learn the rules of the game, maybe develop our own rules. And I told her I could imagine that we sit at the dinner table in a circle, right, every night with our children, and we could go around the table, kind of like this estuary protocol. And so I would be interested in Paul van der Klee and John Van Donk. What is their protocol for dinner or being with family at a dinner table? And, the smallest community is your spouse. So what is your protocol for you and your spouse? Like all of these things in this estuary protocol, I think there is a correlation. There's a correlation. The sun is going to be bright. There's a correlation with with practices that can be done in any community, including the smallest community, between a parent and a child, and a husband and a wife, and a brother and a sister. And it occurs to me that I never learned these things, and very few people have learned these protocols. How do you stay connected to your community? So I started describing what could happen at the dinner table and say, hey, I'm Gavin Palmer. I live in, name the city. I live at, name the address. I mean, my children, they should know what city they live in and the address of their house. And what better way is there to learn than for their parents and teachers to lead by example, expressing that information. I imagine that there's also a ritual that was described in Estuary Protocol, which could be a kind of prayer. I think my wife has established a ritual of us going around the table and expressing what we're grateful for, what we're thankful for, remembering what we are grateful for. But I could imagine being deliberate and intentional with a protocol with my wife and with my family at the dinner table. And that could then lead into other things. And I don't even need to talk about that, but if we as individuals do that, practice, that would be good. And what's funny is, I was kicked off of the Bridges of Meaning Discord server by Joey, and he, I think Luke took a screenshot of his final post so I could at least have some information, get some feedback about his position. And because I received no feedback, no information that I'd been kicked, there was no YouTube comment, no direct message. There was no information, which is exactly what I was hinting at in my last HeroLFG 54 for protocols for our virtual community. I was talking about ideas that some of them may be really good, most of them may not be good, and I got kicked out of the Bridges of Meaning Discord server. And I want to point at the dream I had. It was a bridge was falling apart and there was a train wreck. So, and I'm trying to help. And you know what Luke shared with me in a screenshot is that Joey basically said that the virtual space isn't as important as the space right here. And I completely agree. I mean, my relationship with my wife and children is more important than the virtual space, which is a Discord server. But the virtual space is a metaphor. You know, the bridge and the dream is a metaphor for things like our inability to do sense making, or maybe a metaphor for the Bridges of Meaning server. But the virtual space is a metaphor. And ever since we could take our mind into a place, ever since we could think, we've entered into virtual spaces. And technology has allowed us to think in new ways with each other. And so, you know, I'm a fan of thinking, but I agree that thinking is not as important as getting into the moment, the here and the now, with the people around you, expressing love and the Holy Spirit. There has to be some balancing act while you dance with God. And so I think Joey's right in in his position. I don't think he understands my position because he interpreted my words in such a way that was wrong, and he misunderstood me. And I was disappointed. It makes me disappointed. That word appoint, it's like, you know, I'm with God now, and God, there are these roles we can play that we can be appointed into. I'm pointing at God, I'm being with God, dancing with God, and God can appoint you into a role that is holy, part of the church. And the church includes the thinking space, even though the thinking space is not the most important space, or else you're doing idolatry. You know, a quick win. I've thought about building a bot that could be installed in a Discord server that provides a farewell message that says, that shares a link to a Google Doc, which I've created that I can share in the description, which has a list of Discord servers and YouTube channels. Maybe it's a Google Drive. But the idea is that the Bridges of Meaning server was a place where we could learn about each other and meet each other. And I'm not there anymore. And so maybe there needs to be a better place where we can learn about each other and meet each other so that we can learn with each other. And so a farewell message when you get banned from a Discord server could be a good idea. You don't have to have a prison channel, as I suggested, or a justice channel, as I suggested, but you could have a farewell message as a link to a resource where people are encouraged to essentially have a directory. You know, if you're creating content in this corner, whatever this thing is, there could be a directory, and maybe I need to build it. And you could receive a message. And so it would be nice if you get banned. If you ban people, if you want to ban someone on your Discord server, especially Bridges of Meaning, it would be nice to just send them a direct message, say, hey, here's a link to our directory, and you have been banned. And then they get banned. That way they receive a message, then they are banned. That would be just I was reading the Estuary protocol, and it's like, You want to learn. You want to love. You want to be respectful. There's one more. There's 3 L's and 1 R. I got my notes. Listen, learn, love, and respect. Yeah. So the reason I got banned is because Joey doesn't listen. He's not willing to learn. He's not loving, and he doesn't respect me. He's not respectful. So you got to think about that, John Van Donk and Paul Vanderklay, that you've got this bridge where a person can ban people, and they are not embodying these 3 L and R. But yeah, you could at least show some respect and share a link. So I'll have a link to a resource where you can add information and a comment. You can join my Discord server. Um, and yeah, maybe we can learn how to learn some protocols, right? Um, Learn protocols for how we can play the ideal role. That's what we do. We have all these roles, and we are seeking the ideal, and are we can do better together. I mean, these are just the fundamentals. So listen, learn, love, and respect. Those are good. That's essentially embodying the Holy Spirit. And that's all for the day. I hope you have a good one. I'm going to go and do the more important thing and be with the people next to me, be with my neighbors who are closest to me. And if you have some neighbors, um, maybe treat them as being more important than this virtual space that you're paying attention to right now, or the space which is the thinking space, if you generalize. All right, it's not going away.